All right, man, peace. So, brothers, this court case here is going to be an entry in the series for Know Who You're Living With. And I always accentuate that with a lot of you brothers, especially many of you younger brothers who may not have enough experience to have the discernment to know what's the proper decision to make in your life, particularly when you meet someone new and they're conducting themselves in a very proper, genteel way. Many of these modern liberal women, they know how to conduct themselves in a way to ingratiate themselves with you, hoping that you will believe in the facade so that they can find out exactly what it is that you have to offer them and to what extent. And then once they're able to evaluate what you have to offer them, then they'll show you the real them. They may see that you're someone who's kind and intelligent and a provider, and they'll maintain a certain facade until you become contractually obligated to maintain them. Other females will see that, okay, this person is irresponsible, he's not particularly intelligent, and his personality is that of a dullard, and then they may just start to become detached. Point being is this: when you're a man and you think like a man, you have to constantly use rationale, logic, reason, and patience. That's the most important thing when you're dealing with many of these females, especially for you younger brothers. Do not get into a situation where you're living with a woman too early. You have to know a woman for years before you really know who she is as a person. You have to go through trials and tribulations with that person. You have to endure adversity alongside that person just to see how they respond. Some people confront adversity and other people run, and that's male or female. So that brings us back to this case here. Miss Brianna Wyckoff, she's suing her former quote-unquote boyfriend. He decided that he was going to move her in very quickly because, according to him, she was a nice girl. She was pleasant until she came in contact with her family. And then, according to him, she changed. But did she really change, or did she just conduct herself according to what comes natural to her when she saw a family, because she already knows that they know who she really is? So anyway, they're going to talk about it, and I'm going to chime in.
Plaintiff Brianna Wyckoff moved in with the defendant after they started dating. But every 2 weeks, the defendant would kick her and her young child out. Brianna claims she's now pregnant with the defendant's child, and she's suing him today for childcare expenses and the cost of a car. Defendant Gennaro Brantley says the reason his relationship with Brianna didn't work is because she's extremely disrespectful.
Now, as you can see, this brother's a little older. He's not someone who you would expect to have moved a woman into his home so soon. So that tells you what? That he's desperate, or that he's a simp, or both. And brothers, that simp mentality is very dangerous. And you're not a simp because you're kind or nice to a woman. You're a simp because you don't understand the potentialities for people to hide who they really are. You're a simp because you don't understand your own importance in a dynamic, and you want to exalt another principle above yourself to the level of idolatry. That's what a simp is. And that's the genesis of the quote-unquote black woman is God mentality. It's a bunch of dudes who, for the most part, didn't know their dads, and they've come to venerate the feminine principle because they've never been subjected to the masculine principle. So now they're just thankful that they had a female there to suckle from, and they want to continue to have females in their life to suckle from. That does not seem to be the case with this person here. He just seems to be someone who becomes overly infatuated too quickly. In other words, he's a sucker for love. And be very careful with that mentality.
And he has the video to prove it. Gennaro has doubts about fathering the plaintiff's unborn baby, so he petitioned the court for a paternity test.
Now, of course, I also could have made this a part of the paternity test should be mandatory series, but I like to touch on different dynamics with brothers because you never know what can happen. Once again, you must protect yourself at all times. Okay? You have to know how to love without falling into the quote-unquote in love paradigm. That's very dangerous because what that does is that relegates your ability to comprehend what's going on around you to a very low level when you're so-called in love. That dynamic is not something that you want to indulge yourself in.
And he's countersuing for damage and personal property.
All rise. This court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Greg Mathis presiding. You may now be seated.
Start with you.
Well, Your Honor, I met him last year, April 2016, and he was a sweet person at first. He was nice, caring, and taking me on dates and spending his time with me and my daughter. And
now, did you hear what she said? She said that he was nice at first, he was sweet, he was spending time with her and her daughter. I've already broached this topic in another video. Brothers, when you cross paths with a female that has a child that's not even a year old, and she's not with the father of that child, do you know what that's telling you? That's telling you that she has destructive tendencies. That should be telling you that she has the persona of Kalima, the destroyer goddess. She likes to indulge herself and embrace the new relationship dynamic. She's infatuated with new relationships. As soon as she gets pregnant, she hops on to the next man. That's very popular amongst many of the younger females in this society today. They get pregnant by a man, and as soon as the baby's born, they run that man off, and they make up some excuse about how he's not a good person. He's the same person he was before you got impregnated by him. That's why I say you're not supposed to argue with women. You're supposed to analyze them and know what's coming before it comes. By the time you're in a situation where you have to argue with a woman all day, it's already over, and you're going to lose. Okay? You're going to lose.
And then his daughter came in for a summer, and
Hold it. You all live together?
well,
When his daughter came in for the summer, you all were living together?
Yeah,
Okay, so you jumped that. April of 16, you started dating. When did you move in together?
May.
Okay, that's now I see what.
Now, did you hear that? According to her testimony, they met in April. She moved in May. So what does that mean? She was extremely kind to him. She gave him a whole lot of coochie, a whole lot of fellatio, and he was a sucker for love.
I see why you jumped that.
That's not true.
I see why you tried to skip past that.
Okay, well, me and his daughter spent a lot of time together throughout the summer, and when she moved, he kicked me out.
When was that? What month?
August 2016.
What reason?
I don't even remember.
Isn't that one of the favorite excuses of the liberal female? I don't remember. That's why oftentimes you'll notice they'll ask the liberal female what happened in a certain situation, and they won't ask her about facts. They'll say, what do you remember? Because the female likes to, or the liberal female, let me specify, but the female in general, they like to omit certain portions of history that won't be particularly flattering for them. They don't like to stick to the portion of history that makes them look good.
Okay, why don't you ask him to remind you?
Why did you kick me out?
Disrespectful.
What did I do disrespectfully?
Oh, we could get to that. I got a long
Okay, he's gonna give his.
I got a long list.
All right, well,
Look, the plaintiff, she's already ready to go into her destroyer goddess mode. Did you look at her face and how she was speaking to him? She said, answer the question. He already knew for a fact why he kicked her out of the house, because according to him, she's disrespectful, but that's not her fault. That's his fault. He was supposed to take a longer period of time to get to know her and not move her in just because, she's a young girl who probably gave him some good coochie and some fellatio. Instead, he wanted to save her and her child, instead of understanding that there's a reason why she has a young child, the father's not around, and now she's trying to come on to him. Let me rewind it back a little bit.
tell me.
So, me and his daughter spent a lot of time together throughout the summer, and when she moved, he kicked me out.
When was that? What month?
August 2016.
What reason?
I don't even remember.
Okay, why don't you ask him to remind you?
Why did you kick me out?
Disrespectful.
What did I do disrespectfully?
Oh, we could get to that. I got a long
Okay,
list.
he's gonna give his.
I got a long list.
All right, well, tell me how it happened, ma'am. The circumstances regarding him kicking you out. Did he put your clothes out, or he told you to leave and you left? What happened?
Let me say this first before she answers. Notice she knows what month he kicked her out, but she claims she can't remember why she got kicked out. That tells you that she's lying.
Well, I was getting kicked out every 2 weeks. So
if you were getting kicked out of his house every 2 weeks, that's not a you problem. I can't blame the plaintiff. I have to blame the defendant. Because if somebody is bringing such negative energy into your home and into your vicinity that you have to have them leave your domicile periodically, that means that you have a mental problem. You have an issue understanding what you're supposed to tolerate. And I tell brothers this all the time. The so-called black man is raised oftentimes in such corrosive environments that he's made to believe that he's supposed to tolerate other people's nonsense. You should know right off the bat if somebody should be in your presence. If it gets to the point where it's so bad that you have to kick them out of your house multiple times, it really shouldn't be more than twice. I can understand once and allowing them to come back, but if it's twice, it's over, period. If you're doing that over and over and over and over again, that means that you have as much of a problem as the plaintiff does, as the woman does. You have to know how to make decisions and stick with them.
So he was telling me to get out, and when I left, me and my daughter, my 5-month-old daughter, was forced to go to a homeless shelter.
Okay.
We was in a shelter from August to December, and I got back with my ex, and as soon as I got a job, that's when Gennaro called me.
When did you get back with your ex?
In November.
You say you were still in the shelter in December.
Yeah.
That was the wrong person to get back with if you...
I know.
You was...
That's pretty much all she had to turn to at that point, Your Honor. Many of these liberal females, they have a series of bum-ass dudes that they have in their past, and sometimes they try to reconvene or reconnect with the best of the worst, and they end up looking stupid. Instead of her just conducting herself in a better manner with the defendant, because obviously he was bringing something to the table that no other man in her life had ever brought into her life, she could not change her ways. Once again, brothers, it's not your job to try to change someone and make them into a better person. That's not your job. They have to already have the spirit to be able to receive the understanding that you should be able to bring to them. So the onus is on you to actually have something to bring to the table towards a woman in regards to wisdom. And the flow is supposed to be very easy. It's not supposed to be a battle. If the woman always is ready to go back and forth with you and have that combative spirit, that's a you problem if you choose to maintain that relationship. It's not your job to be trying to change them and utilize alchemy and turn a piece of lead into a piece of gold. That's not what's going to happen. Now, you can take a piece of gold that has a little dust on it and dust it off and turn it into a glittering piece of gold. You can do that. But you can't turn a piece of lead into a piece of gold, brothers. You can't turn shit into sugar.
You were still in the shelter 30 days later. Sir, you want to give me some background?
Yes, sir. When I first met Brianna, she was beautiful, she was attractive, she was sweet, classy, mature for her age.
I doubt if she was classy, brother. I think that she was just a good actor, and you fell for it.
So I took a liking to her. I brought her in a few months later, not no month later, a few months later, and correct.
Well, that's still too soon.
Correct, my daughter was there. The problem ensued when her family members came around. They were filled with drama, particularly with her mother.
Now, brothers, did you hear that? He said that the drama started when her mother came around. Why is that? Because her mother is who she got many of her personality traits from. And the relationship, the rapport between the woman and her mother is something that you have to watch, because oftentimes in this society, the rapport between the liberal female, especially, and her mother is normally very toxic. And when I say very toxic, on either end of the spectrum, either the daughter spends too much time acting as an acolyte of the mother, as a follower of the mother, or on the opposite end of the spectrum, they're always trying to go back and forth like sisters as opposed to a mother-daughter relationship. And oftentimes, because the daughter is raised in a single mother household, she has no idea how to dwell with a man in harmony. That's one of the main things, especially for younger brothers, that you should be looking for in a woman, is a woman who was raised in a household with a strong male figure and respects the masculine principle. For the most part, women that are raised in these single mother environments, they cannot do much for you other than provide you with vagina. Might sound harsh, but it is what it is. Certain people might not like it. Oh well. Oh well. Am I saying that it's impossible to find a productive woman that was raised in a single mother household or was raised in a family dynamic where there was no male energy at all? No, it's not impossible, but it's highly improbable. Just being real with you. Certain people might disagree. I really don't care. But as soon as he saw that, that should have been a major red flag, because that should have told him a couple of things. Number one, it should have told him that the reason why she was flipping out because of her mother was because she has resentment towards her mother for not allowing her to be raised in an environment with the energy balance that she needs to be a productive person in society. Number two, the mother was activating a personality trait that she was going to eventually utilize on him. That's why I tell you, brothers, always pay attention to how your woman treats other people, because eventually that's how she's going to treat you. When she's going back and forth like cats and dogs with a mother, cursing her mother out, cursing her brother out, cursing, you go out to eat, she's cursing the waitstaff out. That's how she's going to treat you eventually. Pay attention to that.
And I witnessed her call her mother out her name several times, which B word, everything. And I sat her down and told her about it, you know what I mean? And
well, you had to sit her down and tell her about her cursing her mother out and calling her mother the B word. What you should have told yourself is, you know what? I'm going to have to put this person under a very, very high level of probation and eventually have her moved out of my home.
And as things progressed, she started being disrespectful toward me.
Ding.
Sam, did she curse your mother?
Yes.
Okay.
She gets so disrespectful to the point she got a machine gun mouth. Rapid fire. I cannot get a word in edgewise. It got so bad I had to take a video. Multiple videos, but I brought one today.
Oh, good. Listen, we have it here. I didn't even see it. I mean, good. This, you're able to back up this. Go ahead, let me see this. Does she come across as quiet and sweet today?
Yeah, and then I don't even know how we got her. I had plans with this whole thing. I want to hear that, dog. I'm being disrespectful, and you just take me I'm about to
jumped on me and called the police for no reason. He's sitting up there.
So what I gathered from that is that certainly one of the things is that, she was disrespectful. I also heard her saying that you kicked her out, and then I heard you saying, no, I'm not kicking you out. Thirdly, when you talked about her jumping on you and calling the police, she said that's old, which is essentially you're admitting to doing it. You're just saying it was old.
Absolutely. And if the woman is going to put her hands on you, brothers, it's not going to get any better. Only thing that's going to happen is, as he already testified to, they're going to attack you, and then they're going to call the cops on you and claim that you started with them because they know that the police force is on their side. That's why I tell you, brothers, what? The liberal female has three personas: the globalist, the racialist, and the feminist. All that racialist bullshit about blackity black this, and I love black this and black that. All that shit is a facade. I'm talking about the liberal black female, not the upstanding, not the good so-called black one. I'm talking about the liberal black female. Now, about 97% of these women out here are liberal. So you must understand that. A woman start jumping on you and hitting you and all that stuff, brothers. That means that she has the persona, the personality traits of a beast. Okay? It's not your job to be a lioness tamer. Send them on their way.
So quit bringing up something I did a long time ago. Then you were out of control. You agreed that you were disrespecting him. You continued to escalate it versus de-escalating. He tried to de-escalate, although you should have been quiet, period, because she can't talk to herself.
Now, did you hear that? What is Judge Mathis saying? Don't go back and forth with a woman. Don't argue with a woman. The only thing is, don't be quiet hoping that it's going to ease the tension. When a woman is going off on you like that, talking about be quiet, who gives a shit, F you, and yeah, I did it, let her run her mouth. While she's running her mouth, you should be thinking about how you're going to pack her things together or assist her in leaving your home as expeditiously as possible. Period.
In fact, I asked my father-in-law recently. My daughter's getting married, and of course there's anxiety around, and anything I say, I get a whole lecture or whatever the case. So I say, how do you deal with your wife? He said, just be quiet. He's gonna be quiet, and eventually it's gonna stop.
Yes, brothers, let me say this. There are going to be disagreements in life that you have with anyone. You know, your friends, your family, your woman. But even when your woman is upset with you, there's a certain level of respect that a good woman is going to have for you, even when she's upset. Unless you totally disrespect her or she feels like you disrespected her in some way. But when you're periodically having these knockdown, drag out verbal arguments with a female and she's calling you out of your name and cursing and carrying on and approaching you in a physical way, cut them off immediately. Immediately. There are other females out there. You have to value yourself. Bottom line, you have to value your own manhood, which unfortunately, many so-called young black men are not learning in these homes. They're not being taught to value their own manhood.
So every word that you say, you're giving it another whole sentence.
Right.
So you just...
How many you said?
I didn't get a chance to get him on camera. He's very disrespectful too. I just didn't get no evidence.
Tell me...
Well, you didn't get any evidence because you don't have any evidence. You're fortunate to have found a man who's willing to put you up in a home. That's what you should be thankful for.
Tell me about the child care and the car you're suing him for.
Well, we had an agreement last year.
That's a lie.
She had...
Anything you say, that's a lie. Well, bro, you should have thought about that before you moved her into your home so soon.
He hadn't even said what it was. Go ahead.
We had an agreement that I had told Janelle that I was taking a year off so I could have a bond with my daughter because she was only 4 months old. So...
Taking a year off work?
Yes. So,
on his dime.
So...
You told him that?
Yes. So...
Did you tell him who you intended to support you financially or for a year?
He wanted to. He wanted me to live with him.
So how
start a
long
life with him.
after meeting him did you tell him, I need you to take care of me for a year?
We discussed that at Applebee's when we first
I don't
met.
know when that...
Now listen to what she said. She said, we discussed the possibility of her staying home with her daughter to quote unquote build a bond with her daughter on his dime when they first met. So she was already trying to move in with him when they first met because she spotted a sucker. That shows you the level of the mental disorder that the defendant has. Not the plaintiff, the defendant. Because as a grown man, you meet a woman for the first time. This is according to her testimony anyway. On their first date or when they first met, she's discussing with him how he should be willing to take care of her and her daughter from another man, which should have showed the defendant that she has a problem maintaining a relationship with a man for the simple fact that if you just gave birth and you're not with the man who's the father of the child, you have a history of breaking things off with people that you're in committed relationships with. And when I say committed, I'm not talking about quote unquote going steady or boyfriend, girlfriend. I'm talking about getting impregnated by. And I'm sure certain people will say, well, how do you know that the person that she was impregnated by is a good person? He was good enough to inseminate her.
Discussing at Applebee's.
I mean,
I have no idea how far that was between moving in. All right, before you moved in with him.
Yeah, before I moved in with him.
Okay, and he said, I'll support you?
Yes.
Is that true?
Correct.
Okay, good enough. And within a month,
So in other words, you're a sucker for love.
you committed to providing financial support to a woman you really didn't know for an entire year.
No, sir. Her timing is mixed up. The baby was already 3 months old, and we dated for 3 or 4 months. So the baby was 7 months. You know what I mean? So
It was your child?
No, sir. No, sir. But
okay, well, you're a good guy.
No, he's not a good guy. No, he's not a good guy. And brothers, please, once again, this is why I'm starting to touch on this topic as well. When and if you meet a woman and you decide that you're going to act as a steward over her and the child that she has by another man, please understand the responsibility that you're undertaking. And when you do something like that, also grasp and understand how good a person the woman is. she has to be grateful and understand what you're doing. You're taking on both her and her child. Many of the modern day liberal females are very fond of saying that they're a package deal with their child. That what they're telling you is that once you take on this responsibility, don't bitch and complain. So know exactly what you're doing. Know what you're doing, because the average modern liberal female is not grateful for the good things that a man will do for her. So you have to be prepared that one day you may wake up and what you thought you had with that female may have evaporated. And you can't look back and say, well, I wasted my time or that was a bad experience. You have to go into a situation already knowing the possibilities. And I say that to some of you brothers out there who may be 20, 21, 22 years old, things of that nature. So when you approach any of these situations and you decide that you're going to embark on a serious relationship, know exactly what you're getting into. Because I know firsthand about brothers that have been in relationships with women, with children, and they were the best thing that happened to that woman. And brothers tell me about how things went sour and how disrespectful the woman was and how disregarding she was of what he brought to the table. So you have to be able to pick yourself up after a situation like that doesn't work out, because for the most part in this society, it probably will not work out. So you have to know that the woman that you're dealing with is somebody who's respectful and who's grateful. Very important.
We good guys.
Meet a woman, she has a baby already and makes it clear that I'm taking off for a year. So you gonna take care of this? Yeah, I got it. You're a good man.
No, he's not a good man. He's a fool. Now, had he known her for a long period of time and he got to know her and her child, and he understood that the woman was willing to be with him because she was as equally infatuated with him and willing to embark on a serious relationship with him as he is with her, and that she had her situation with her child already properly taken care of within her own abilities, and she did not need him, then you could say to yourself, okay, I can consider consolidating this whole thing, me, her, and her child. But when you meet a woman and you've only known her for 3 or 4 months, and you decide that you're going to do this, and the first time that you meet, according to her testimony, she's talking about how she had to take a year off on your dime. That tells me that this person here is very, very desperate and a sucker for love. That sucker for love spirit is very dangerous, brothers. I cannot stress that enough. There's guys out here eating out of garbage cans over that mentality. And when the female is done with someone like that, they're not going to care. All right, so please keep that in mind.
Man, you still into that approach? I'm sure you'll be a very popular man when you leave here.
Now, did you see what the judge did there? He called him a good man, and then he asked him if he's still into that approach to mock him. Because he's saying what he's saying for television, that he was a good man. He knows that he's not a good man. He knows that he's a mark. That's all he is. Because if he did not view him as a mark, he would not have felt the need to ask him if he was still into that approach, because he sees where that approach got him. It got him in court. Even the women are laughing at him. They were just clapping for what he did about 10 seconds ago, but now they're laughing. Okay, so please keep that in mind. I'm not telling you to not engage in a serious relationship with a woman with a child. People go through things in life. Maybe she met the wrong person. Maybe she wasn't mature enough. But you must take your time and get to know people very, very well. Especially before you decide to take on the responsibility of a woman and her child in your home. In your home. Once again, most modern liberal females are not grateful. They believe that the man who's supposed to take them on owes it to them to take care of them and their child. Most liberal women do, yes. So once again, understand your own worth, especially if you're a so-called black man who's younger and you've not figured out what you want to do with your life. You really should not be in a serious relationship at all. Make sure that you have your career going, or whatever it is that you want to do with your life. Make sure that you have your own apartment, your own home that you can maintain on your own. Because when you take on a woman and her child, that is another financial obligation.
Still to come, the paternity test results.
All right, see, he told you move in and I'll take care of everything. And he agrees he told you that. So, how does he owe you for child care expenses, though?
Now, pay very close attention to what this female states in regards to why the defendant owes her for child care. Keep in mind that he has already moved her in on his dime after a very brief period of getting to quote-unquote know her. He's taking care of her and her child. But look at what she has the brashness to say.
Because when his daughter came in for the summer, before his daughter came in, he already told me that he not sure if she was going to come because he didn't have no...
How much did he agree to pay you?
$120 a week.
Okay, so not only is he taking care of all your financial needs, you and your child, he's also paying you a salary to take care of his child while you all were living together. All right? Is that true?
Nope. No, sir, not at all.
You never
We
said
never had an agreement. In fact,
Did he ever pay you one of the payments?
No.
How long were you working for him?
From May to August.
How the hell could you be working for somebody who's giving you free room and board and taking care of you and your child? But you see, brothers, she was ready to take him to court for money that she's alleging that he promised to pay her to take care of his daughter. And let me say this. Pay attention to how she spoke when she mentioned his daughter. She had a bit of resentfulness in her face that she was going to have to share the home with his daughter. That's why she felt like she deserved to get paid for it. Because she was already marking her territory in regards to the home that she was going to take over, at least until she got bored with him or got impregnated by him, and if possible met somebody else who could assist her even better, and then she could leave him behind potentially. But she was not happy when his daughter was going to come to stay with them. I promise you that.
How often were you to get paid?
I was supposed to get paid every week, but...
At the end of the first week, when you asked for your money, what did he say?
He was telling me, maybe, since you living here and we doing activities and stuff, I'm not sure I'm going to pay you this.
And what was your response?
I was like, okay, as long as I get it.
You said okay?
She's lying.
You said okay, as long as I get it?
Yeah.
All right, and that was the first time. How about the second week?
Well, I kind of left it alone, but we did
When did you bring it back up?
I brought it back up right before he kicked me out when his daughter left.
So that sounds like to me, I agree with him then, ma'am. I believe him that he never agreed to pay you. You only came up with this after he kicked you out.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. She's clearly lying. How the hell did you start doing these duties for him at the beginning of summer, and then all the way at the end of summer you still have not been paid yet, and you did not bring it up? Just knock it off.
Oh.
But point being is this, brothers. Please understand how the liberal female will constantly show a lack of gratefulness for what you do for her. So, and I always say this, whenever you decide to do something for someone, you cannot expect anything back. Okay? That's why I always say I don't lend money. I give money, but I will just let the person think that I'm lending it to them, so that if they don't pay me back, now I know that they're dishonorable. And I know I just can't fuck with them on that level anymore, if any level. Sometimes people come, oh man, I'm in a bad financial situation. Can you hit me off with such and such amount of money? And you help them out. If they try to act like they don't know what you're talking about, or if they try to act like you never did anything for them, it's cool, no problem. Now I just know who you are as a person. It's okay. But when you start to get into situations with people where you're conducting yourself like you're a bank and you want to enforce repayment, you've already made a mistake. You never lend out money that you cannot afford to lend out. You just don't have it. Period. Unless it's for someone who's rock solid, immediate family member, or someone that you know is good for it, things of that nature. But lending money will dissolve relationships more than anything else. As will doing favors for people who you have not established their level of gratefulness and integrity yet. Understanding how grateful someone is for the help that you give them is essential. Not even for them, but for yourself.
And the car, tell me how he owes you for the car.
Well, with my taxes, I paid for my tickets and I bought the car, but my license hadn't come in the mail yet, so I got it in his name.
That's not true.
Okay. And how does he owe you? He took the car back, or what happened? You had the car?
As soon as he kicked me out, he reported my car stolen.
You had the car, though? You left in the car.
Yes.
He reported it stolen, and then what happened?
Yes, he kicked you out, and you left in the car that you wanted to keep. And I'm sure that before you left, he told you, that's my car, do not take my car. And you took it anyway because you had the keys, and you figured that it was yours just because you wanted it to be yours. And you tried to dip out with it, and he called the cops on you.
And I kicked the door in.
To do what?
To get my stuff, because he locked the door. I didn't even have a pair of underwear.
Okay, you jumped away from what happened with the car. I was asking you.
With the car, I had brought the car back because I didn't want to get in trouble. It was reported stolen.
All right, and is that when you also tried to get your items?
Yes.
And he wasn't there?
No, he wasn't there, and he told me that
But you had a key.
He changed the locks.
Sir, did you change the lock?
I changed the locks after...
With her things in there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. After what? What reason?
After she had packed everything up and put it in a separate room, indicating that she wasn't coming back there, to be there. So.
But her things were there. How you gonna lock her out and her things were there?
Because she was threatening it. In the past, I got a...
And she did damage your property,
yes,
correct.
Sir. And I got the last...
Yes, because you allowed a cyclone into your home without properly getting to know that person. Brothers, once again, take your time with these women, man. Take your time with these women. Do not get confounded by a pretty face and a soft voice. Get to know all their dimensions, all of their alters. Okay, once again, watch how they handle adversity. Monitor how they deal with stress. Just make sure that you thoroughly analyze how they deal with you when they're aggravated with you. Very important. And a lot of you brothers, to be quite frank with you, especially a lot of you younger brothers, you need to spend some time when you get the opportunity and you have your job or whatever, living by yourself for a certain period of time.
The last time she did it, she left her stuff there for months, and I even had sent her a text message saying, I got all your stuff here, what you want me to do with it? I could make arrangements to drop it off at your mother's house.
Tell me about the ownership of the car.
I bought it.
You paid for it?
Yeah. I got the bill of sale, the title, everything right here.
I see it. But I know you would have the bill of sale if she gave you money.
You bought the whole car?
Yeah.
You didn't. I didn't pay for my car with my taxes.
No, ma'am. There you go, right?
The question is,
what taxes could you have used to pay for it when you didn't have a job for a year? Oh, I'm sorry. Back when you was mopping floors at Burger King the year before you met him, right? When you met the dude who walked into Burger King and swept you off your feet and got you pregnant.
The question is, who spent the money?
I did. I spent the money.
Ma'am, do you have any evidence that you paid anything?
Yes, I do, on my bank statement.
Let's see it. But he shows me something, a money order for $1,000. Then he shows me one for $680.
He kept my money orders.
How did he get them?
Because he went with me.
To get the car?
Yes.
You had the money orders already?
I had the money on my bank accounts, and
all right, you have a deduction here the same day that the car was purchased for the same exact amount. She has a bank statement indicating that she took out the exact amount of money that it cost to purchase this car on the exact day.
Correct, but here go the piece of evidence that you need to see, because in the
where you put money up?
Where I put money in her hand.
Yeah, you have that?
Yes, sir.
And it says I put money in
her
hand for the car.
I didn't buy any. You put the whole amount in my hand.
That's it.
And
just by her continuously asking, you put the whole amount. That is her acknowledging that he put at least partial money on the car. So however much money was taken out of her bank account, a good portion of it was from his contribution.
And she responds to it as well.
I sure did. And here's my...
I'm still not going to argue with you. You know I put most of the money on everything. You didn't say anything about a car. You said on everything. What about this DNA test? Why do you want a DNA test?
Because the date she gave me, she said she was 5 and 9.
You all have a child together, or you're pregnant now?
I'm pregnant now.
Okay, so why do you doubt?
So she's pregnant now with his child, meaning what? She's going to make his life a living hell for, at the very least, the next 18 years. That's what that means, brother. Let me say this, brothers, and please keep this in mind. When you're in one of these tempestuous, combative relationships, impregnating a woman is not going to make it any better. And a lot of so-called black men fall for this notion that they've allowed themselves to fall in love with a liberal black female, meaning a female who doesn't respect the masculine principle. She's a feminist and she just is not going to respect you. And you think that getting her pregnant is going to make the situation better. All it's going to do is empower her more. It's going to give her more leeway to leave you and string you along as a vassal and as a tributary to her. That's it. Okay, so once you see that the woman has no respect for you and your manhood, once again, you must get rid of her expeditiously. Do not impregnate her. Your seed is the most powerful thing that you have. It's the most important and valuable thing that you have. You can't give your seed to a female that doesn't deserve it, man. Scriptures even tell you, give yourself not over to a light woman. Yeah, I believe that's in Ecclesiastes, the 7th chapter. Give thyself not over to a light woman. You do not give yourself over to a female who does not value you, value the relationship, or understand the importance of the masculine principle.
You doubt it.
Because she said when she came back from the doctor, she never took me to any of the doctor's appointments. She told me she was 5 to 9 weeks pregnant, which I ain't never heard nothing like that.
Well, that's very easy, bro. She slept with you 9 weeks ago. She slept with her other man 5 weeks ago.
And
You never heard what?
5 to 9 weeks pregnant.
Your Honor.
Oh, okay, a range.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Your Honor,
Right.
when I first
I don't know
went to
one way or
the,
the
when I
other.
first went to the doctor,
I should, right? I got 4, but I don't remember hearing range either. I swear I don't remember hearing no range.
Your Honor, when I first went to the doctor, I went for prenatal pills. So I didn't get an ultrasound.
Do you believe it's his or not?
It's his.
You see how he cut right to the point? Look, I don't want to hear your bullshit. Do you believe it's his or not? Because even Judge Mathis knows that there's a high probability that she was sleeping with someone else while she was in a relationship with him, which oftentimes will happen to so-called nice guys like him, simps or suckers for love. He'll be the one putting her up, and even though he thinks that she's at home, she's sneaking around with someone else, acting like she's taking the baby for a walk or something like that.
It's his. It's that.
Okay, and you don't believe it's yours? Or you're not
That's
sure?
what I'm here to find out.
When we come back, the results of the paternity test.
Tell me about the counterclaim for the property and the property damage. What did she do? Let's see it, please.
There was a break-in. She
Kicked the door in?
Yes, sir. And here go the estimate. That's the.
And what else?
And she took the surround sound. And when she returned the vehicle, she brought forth about 5 or 6 gentlemen with her, and they strong-armed my television.
Okay, did you go to the police?
Nope. At that point in time, I was just like, I have to take it outside. Just, I don't want no problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you didn't want to get your ass whooped. Now, mind you, she was able to return with 4 or 5 or 6, however many dudes he mentioned, so-called thugs, dudes that she most likely has given some vagina to in the past, but none of those guys could put her and her daughter up in a home like you did. You know why? Because none of those guys were dumb enough to do that. All those guys who ran up in your home to take that TV, where you helped them carry the TV out, all those guys were her side dudes, bro. Okay? All those guys were her side dudes.
And that's not his TV or his stereo, and he didn't pay for the stereo.
Well, he does have me something where he's making reference to things he's paid for. I'm not going to argue with you. You know I put most of the money on everything. I've been supporting you, your daughter, your brother, and your sister. Just because you are mad, don't give you the right to take from me.
Look at that. He wasn't just supporting her and her daughter. He was also supporting many of her other family members. Brothers, ain't no coochie on the planet that damn good. Sorry. Not after 1 or 2 months. You know, maybe I will change the name of this series to Don't Be a Sucker for Love. Who the hell knows? Because this is a pathetic case right here.
You should give me my $1,500.
I responded and said, "You never paid me. Stop lying, little boy."
Hey, brothers, do you see that? Do you see the transcript of what she's reading? She said, "Stop lying, little boy." Now, what did I state point blank in the little 2-part series that I did on the film Mo Better Blues and the difference between a wife and a concubine? I stated that a concubine will always try to emasculate the man that she's with. That's one of their prime tactics.
Who you lying to? Ain't nobody texting but me.
He didn't say he paid you. He said, you know, I put most of the money on everything, and I believe him. So I'm going to grant your, I see you saying she owed $1,500. That's your judgment, ma'am. I'm going to grant you a judgment for the car, $1,680. And we're going to go and get the DNA test and see what that says.
That looks like an angry chick. That looks like an angry chick. Brothers, once again, once you see that the female that you're dealing with has a very corrosive rapport with her mother, that is a major, major, major red flag, man. A major red flag. Do not try to turn a piece of lead into a piece of gold. When you see that a woman is cursing, carrying on, going back and forth with her mother, you let her go. Work on your exit strategy, your exit plan. Okay? Because whatever nature she has towards her mother, that is what she's going to have towards you. The woman in general is a two-dimensional thinker, oftentimes unable to differentiate between who her targets should be. Okay?
Says you're not getting the child care expenses. Like I said, I don't think he agreed to pay you and to take care of you and your family's needs. Not only did he say I supported you, your child, your brother, your sisters, everybody.
Like a damn fool.
Tell you, he's a decent man.
No, yeah, he's a damn fool.
Other than this lie trying to take this car that he didn't pay for.
Now look at him. After Judge Mathis made that little joke, he started laughing and looked over to the plaintiff to see if she's laughing. Look at her face, brothers. Look at her face. Good Lord. I could make this part of the Hell Have No Fear like a woman's like a woman's scorn series. This chick is gonna make his life a living hell.
And I hope you're a decent father. Because you are. I
want to move forward and let's take care of our child and, you know, be better parents than we are in a relationship. Be better parents and friends.
I don't even have anything to say.
Of course you don't have anything to say, because you're going to spend the next 18 years running him through the court system, trying to make sure that you could drain his pockets as much as possible, while you go back to dealing with the so-called thugs and degenerates that you're comfortable with. Most likely raising your children with the same corrosive, acerbic persona that you have.
From all the lies and what you portrayed me to look like, I'm very disrespectful when I get upset, and so...
That's all we need to know. That's all we need to know. You're very disrespectful, quote unquote, when you get upset. So in other words, people have to watch whatever it is that makes you upset, or you're going to try to demean them, emasculate them, denigrate them, curse them out because you're filled with rage and anger, because most likely your mother failed you. She failed you when she decided to get inseminated by whatever man ran up in her. Brothers, life is very simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. As you get older, you have certain experiences. You know who to make yourself confederate with, you know who to associate with, and you know who to avoid. That's why I make these videos. When you see people like this, creatures like this female right here, she's barely concubine material. Barely concubine material. And he ran up in her. His life is about to become a living hell.
And so is he. But I'm a very respectable and great mother, and it's just, you know, it made me look like something else.
No, it made you look like what you are, because all they did in the court case was show facts. That's all they did. The judge was able to prove that you were a liar. The videotape showed who you were as a person. You're in another man's home living rent-free, and you're cursing him out and acknowledging the fact that you laid hands on him and then called the cops on him.
Out of anger and out of everything that you've done to me as well.
Well, if he did so many things to you, you should have stated them in court. You didn't have anything to state other than the fact that he kicked you out multiple times, most likely because you deserved it. It shouldn't have been more than once that he had to kick you out of his own home after a month of doing you and your daughter a favor. He should have left you out of his home after the first time, no more than the second time. But anyway, hopefully a lot of you younger brothers will watch this and learn from it and understand what you should tolerate and what you shouldn't. Peace.